Some of us think holding on makes us strong, but sometimes it is letting go.
Have you ever felt like you're fighting against something invisible? As if time itself conspires against your meetings? As if every attempt to get closer always ends in silence, distance, or exhaustion? Maybe it's not bad luck. Maybe it's not wrong timing. Maybe, just maybe, you're forcing permanence where the universe only allows passage. But what if the pain you feel when you insist isn't about that person's absence, but about denying a much deeper calling you've been ignoring for far too long? There's a point where insisting becomes betrayal. Not betrayal of the other person, but of yourself. That connection that once felt magical starts to weigh heavy. The meetings stop being a breath of fresh air and turn into tension. Words stop healing and start hurting. You keep calling it love, but deep down, you know, something has died. And what's left is just your attachment to what could have been. And no one talks about this. No one talks about the exact moment when love stops being a path and becomes a prison. Because admitting that means tearing the fantasy apart. It means looking in the mirror and realizing the story you wrote for two was always just a monologue of resistance. The universe doesn't shout, it whispers. And when you ignore it, it takes things away. It takes coincidence, flow, those spontaneous encounters. It puts up walls where there used to be bridges. It closes doors you thought were eternal. And every time you try to force them open, something in you breaks a little more. Maybe this isn't about losing the other person. Maybe it's about not losing yourself. But who has the courage to admit that? Before everything collapses? Before the pain turns to despair? What if all this suffering is actually protection in disguise? A silent orchestra of the unseen, pulling you away from what makes you sick? Loving someone should never cost you your peace. So why do we cling so tightly to what hurts us? Why do we prefer 1,000 rational excuses over a single visceral feeling of disconnection? Maybe because, deep down, we're more afraid of letting go than we are of suffering. But what if letting go isn't loss? What if letting go is healing? What if real love isn't the one that insists, but the one that respects absence? Because sometimes, what you need isn't more insistence, it's silence. It's presence. It's the courage to accept what's already obvious, even if you refuse to see it. Not every connection is destiny. Some are only passages, with a date and time set for their end. In this video, you won't find formulas. You'll find mirrors. You'll hear words no one else had the courage to tell you. You'll see, between the lines, the signs you've been ignoring. Every second here won't just be about understanding the other person. It'll be about finding yourself again. And maybe discovering that what you've been calling the love of your life is really the cruelest test the universe sent you to teach you how to love yourself. Skip a second, and you might miss the key that unlocks the whole maze. But stay. Stay and face what's been waiting to be understood all along. You notice the signs, but refuse to name them. Something blocks, something slips away. And still, something insists. You feel as if life, almost cruelly, keeps separating you from this person. And every time it happens, you tell yourself it's just a phase, but it's not. It's the universe at work, like an invisible master, untying the knots you tied with your own hands. It's not a lack of love, it's an excess of resistance. The synchronicity breaks. The good moments become rare, distant memories. And no matter how hard you try to get closer, something is always off. Something doesn't fit anymore. You feel it, but you don't accept it. Because to accept would mean admitting you forced what was supposed to flow naturally. And what doesn't flow wounds, slowly, quietly, deeply. Your body screams what your mind refuses to hear. Anxiety tightens your chest before the message even arrives. Your breath falters when the name flashes on your screen. Your shoulders tense. Your heart races. You call it passion. But what if it's alarm? What if that discomfort is your instinct trying to protect you from the pain ahead? The body doesn't lie. It reveals truths your consciousness isn't ready for yet. And still, you go on. You insist. You swallow the lump in your throat and call it intensity. But intensity isn't love. It's a warning. It's the body trying to survive what the soul already knows doesn't belong to it. Exhaustion has become routine. Plans never leave the paper. Conversations turn into confrontations. Silences grow longer. You call it a phase, an obstacle, a test. But you don't realize what's happening isn't a challenge to overcome. It's a breakup unfolding in slow motion. The universe isn't punishing you. It's sparing you. And still, you resist. And resistance drains you, breaks you. You don't feel alive next to this person anymore. You feel drained, misaligned, broken into little concessions that slowly erode your essence. And still, you stay. Because you're afraid of what comes after. Because you think true love requires sacrifice. But it doesn't. What demands constant sacrifice isn't love. It's emotional prison. You wonder if what you feel is love or obsession, connection or need. And that doubt follows you in the quiet moments. You call soulmate the very thing destroying you, piece by piece. And little by little, you justify everything with spirituality. If it hurts this much, it must be strong. If it's difficult, it must be real. But that's a trap. Real love doesn't demand inner war. It doesn't put you at odds with yourself. It doesn't make you doubt your worth. Sometimes, what you call destiny is just resistance to the end. And the intensity you feel isn't proof of love. It's a symptom of denial. You don't hold on because you love. You hold on because you're afraid of life without this familiar pain. You've confused chaos with presence, and pain with love. And so, the universe, in its brutal wisdom, steps in. It tears the veil. It pulls the ground from under you. It destroys everything you built on illusions. You lose your job. You lose friends. The person walks away. Circumstances crumble. And in despair, you think you're being punished. But you're not. You're being freed. By force. Yes. Because you didn't have the courage to let go consciously. So life lets go for you. And it hurts. It hurts like something being torn from inside. But after the emptiness comes clarity. And you realize what was taken from you was never yours. It was fantasy, distraction, a foggy mirror reflecting only your need, not love. And in that ruin, a seed of truth begins to grow. Sometimes losing is the only way to find yourself again. You begin to see that peace shouldn't be an exception, that lightness isn't luxury, that breathing deeply beside someone isn't a privilege, it's the bare minimum. And then the question shifts. Does this person bring me peace or take it away? You realize you were so used to emotional chaos that you normalized living in tension. Adrenaline became affection, fear became desire. But real love doesn't pound in your chest like urgency, it moves like calm, like presence, like home. And once you see that, what once looked like passion reveals its true face. Misalignment, warning, imbalance. Because the love that's meant for you will never leave you in inner war. It reconciles you with your very existence. You realize you've been trying to glue back what's already broken, trying to force life into something with no roots. And why? Because the fear of starting over is stronger than the pain of staying. Because you'd rather endure familiar suffering than face the unknown silence. But that comes with a price, a high emotional cost that slowly eats away at your life force. You smile on the outside, but collapse on the inside. And still, you insist, because you think letting go means failure. But failure is abandoning yourself for someone who no longer sees you. Failure is shrinking yourself to fit into a space that no longer welcomes you. The true act of love, at this point, is letting go. Even if every part of you still wants to hold on. And then, as a final act, the universe takes everything away. It takes the chance to talk, the reunion, the possibility of just one more try. And you, desperate and angry, feel abandoned in the dark, but the dark is the womb of the new. It's there, in silence, with no distractions, no expectations, no excuses, that you finally hear your own voice. And it says, enough. Stop. It was never about the other. It was always about you. About how far you were willing to hurt yourself just to keep someone close. And the universe, harsh as it may seem, saved you, protected you, returned you to yourself. Not every loss is absence. Some are deliverance, with name and surname. The fear of letting go still follows you. It comes at night, disguised as longing. It shows up in details, in scents, in memories. But now you're more awake. You see that fear for what it is, the echo of emotional dependence. You don't miss the person, you miss the idea you created of them. And letting go isn't forgetting. It isn't erasing. It's just accepting that the story has run its course. That chapter is over. And rereading the same pages won't change the ending. Letting go is letting life breathe through you again. It's stopping the habit of numbing yourself with emotional crumbs. It's making peace with the void, because only in the void can something new grow. And finally you understand. The space left by absence is the very space that allows the new to enter. But the new can't come while you're still full of leftovers. While your energy is trapped in what has already died. By taking away, the universe is making space, clearing the path. But you have to be willing to clean up the ruins, to leave the battlefield, to look at yourself with compassion and say, I deserve more. And you do. You deserve presence. You deserve reciprocity. You deserve peace. But the universe only delivers when you truly let go. When you stop gripping so tightly, what's only there out of inertia. And in that moment, everything changes. Because what's truly yours will never ask you to abandon yourself. There are silences that speak louder than 1,000 words, and maybe the loudest of all is the silence born when you finally release what was never yours. At this point, at the end of this journey, there are no more unanswered questions. But there aren't absolute answers either. Because some truths can't be spoken. They can only be felt. They bloom in the space that's left when pain is acknowledged, not denied. And if you've made it this far, it's because something in you already knew. Knew that what you kept calling love was, in fact, resistance in disguise. An attachment to the echo of what once was, but no longer is. You've been guided by shadows, by broken memories, by attempts to fix the unfixable. And all of it brought you here, to the threshold between familiar pain and unknown freedom. There's no safe map for crossing that bridge, only courage. Courage to let go of what weighs you down, even when it still beats in your chest. Courage to accept that what broke outside had long been breaking inside. And most of all, courage to see that the universe never takes without purpose. It frees with firmness, even if it feels like abandonment. The absence that now walks with you isn't emptiness. It's fertile ground. It's the space before rebirth. Every time the universe closes a door, it's not punishment. It's so you can learn to build windows inside yourself. Windows where the light enters, where life breathes again, where love, the real kind, can finally find room to bloom. Because as long as you hold on to what wounds, your hands won't be free to welcome what heals. As long as you idolize the past, your eyes won't be open to the present, and the present is all there is. So when longing hits, and it will, don't ask yourself what you've lost. Ask yourself what you're finally gaining by letting yourself move on. Silent peace, restful sleep. A mirror that no longer accuses, but embraces. The lightness of walking without dragging ghosts. You are not alone. You are clear. And in this state of clarity, love, the kind that doesn't hurt, doesn't trap, doesn't demand you sacrifice your essence, may one day arrive. And maybe it won't come from outside. Maybe it's been here all along, asleep, waiting for you to come back home. And if something in you was touched by these words, if a memory woke up, or a silent truth was finally recognized, then this video has fulfilled its purpose, not just to inform, but to transform. If it made sense to you, share it. Not out of impulse, but out of responsibility. Someone out there needs to hear this right now. Like if it made you breathe differently. Comment if at some point you felt this was your story. And subscribe to continue this journey with us, because this isn't just a video. This is a sacred space of awareness, and you are part of it now.